Hi guys, welcome back to my new workshop again. I'm just starting on a little project here today, and I thought I may as well document it and bring you guys along for the ride. So this little guitar that I molded, I wanted to use up a lot of materials before I started moving premises, and a lot of carbon that was starting to go out of date and things, and I kind of thought I'll use it up, and if it comes out of the mold, I'll use it for paint practice and things like that. So my idea was I wanted to put pickups in this guitar, so I kind of want a guitar with two humbuckers in it, and I was going to go buy myself a thin line Telecaster or something like that, but my girlfriend says, Simon, you make guitars, why would you be buying another guitar? So I kind of says, okay, I might just use this one to play about with. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring you guys along for the journey. So I'll kind of talk through. I might just put the camera on the time lapse just on the different work I'm doing, and maybe do a bit of talking through it or whatever and narrating and things. But you can let me know what you think of this. I do a lot of projects and a lot of trial and error, and even this guitar is an example of that. And I'm really bad at documenting it, and I think that's because my own expectations for the standard of what I need to upload is probably a bit too high. So I might start doing more videos like this here, where I just put on a little time-lapse camera sitting in the corner and kind of show you the before and after and things. But rest assured, I am flat out working on things. I've been doing a lot of like R&D. Even this guitar itself, I've tried a lot of new things on it that wasn't on the previous guitars, and it's actually things that turned out really well. Surprisingly, I was expecting at every step of the way that this guitar was just going to be a bit of wall art or maybe just threw in the bin, but it refuses to die, this guitar. So I'm going to keep on at it, I'm going to keep pushing it, I'm going to keep trying new things with it, and might learn some things along the way.
So at this stage, when I was stripping down the instrument, I still hadn't decided on the layout for controls. I knew I wanted 2 tone and 2 volume knobs, but I hadn't decided where I was going to put them. Now aesthetically, I think inside the sound hole would have been the best place, but the 4 knobs in a row took up so much space, they weren't very accessible, and my other concern was that if feedback became an issue and I put sound hole covers on this, then you completely couldn't get at the knobs at all. So that wasn't really an option, and I kind of ruled that out early on. So I was playing about with different layouts. I was setting the knobs on top, and then I was also going on the computer here and trying different layouts and different positions, and I very quickly gravitated towards the layout similar to a Les Paul with the 2 volumes and 2 tones down low on the top of the instrument. So once I was happy with the layout, I generated some toolpaths and sent those across to the CNC machine. Now you can see the instrument mounted up on one of my fixtures on the CNC bed itself, and this is a test path just above the height of the instrument to make sure everything's laid out correctly, and that's just making sure that the instrument's centered and the machine knows where it's at. So once I was confident everything was positioned correctly, I brought the spindle down and then started the job, and this is now actually it cutting into the actual top of the instrument. So it's starting its first cut path here now, so it will do this in maybe about 4 or 5 layers, and what you're seeing is actually sped up by about 5 times, so the settings are very conservative, and I really wanted to try and protect the paint and not get very much chip out, and that's why I have the masking tape on here for as well. I then also set it to do a separate last path, so it'll take an extra millimetre off in a final path to try again and leave a nice tidy edge rather than going through everything in one solid go. And you're also loading the bit of the tool a lot less this way, and it means you get a slightly better surface finish on the cut. So once the paths have been cut for the pickups, I was then on to doing the positions for the knobs. So I'm just checking here and making sure the position that the machine's about to cut actually lines up with what I like in real life. And thankfully everything lined up pretty well first time, and it was just a case of letting the machine run its course. So you can see here now that's the mold cut, and my next thing was deciding where I was going to put the switch. So up to this point I was going to put it up high like on a Les Paul, but I decided I preferred the layout like a Telecaster better, so I actually mounted it down beside the bridge. Now this is a plate I've made, and that's strictly for wiring, so rather than trying to wire everything inside the guitar, I made a plate that matched the positions. I'm going to wire everything outside of the guitar, take it all off, and then mount it in the guitar, so at least all the wire lengths and everything will be exactly the same, and the positions will be maintained both in and out. So in terms of the electronics I'm using 0.022 capacitors, and I'm using linear pots. Now the pickups, I forget the exact brand of them, I think they might be bare knuckle, but it was actually, I've had those quite a while. I played an instrument that a friend of mine had changed the pickups on, and I liked the sound of them, and I told him, here, give me a set of those. So he got me a set, and I've had them in a drawer ever since. At that time I did have a Telecaster that I was considering putting them in, but I've since sold that, so I've had these kind of on a shelf waiting for a project like this for quite a while. So I never like putting extra holes in my instruments if it can be avoided, but in this case there was just no way to get everything into the guitar that needed to go in there through the sound holes. So what I did is I 3D printed a jig, you'll see it in the bottom right there of the shot, and I marked out the position on the bottom of the guitar that was going to cut the hole. Now the reason for this was I wanted the position to be very exact, and what that meant was I could make another part that would fit the curve of the instrument and actually give you a little lip the whole way around that hole and a place to fix a door onto. So this is actually the test part 3D printing now, then that'll be the bit you'll see going into the inside of the hole later on. So I think this is about 2 weeks into the project now, and I'm finally getting it all put back together. So from the start point to now, it's been 2 weeks of on and off, but it was really just finding an error here and there. And I wanted to be very methodical about every step of this, because I was kind of conscious it's a finished guitar and I didn't want to just destroy it. So there you can see now the cap that's in around the hole, and there's the piece I cut out, and I'm just getting it positioned and getting the holes put on that. So I actually 3D printed yet another jig to cut the holes in that, and I do love my 3D printing. So that's it in position there now, and it's fairly seamless. Obviously, if you were to do this from the get-go, you'd have it maybe recessed in the hole, but this is it now, just getting the final setup and ready to go. I levelled, crowned and polished the stainless steel frets, and I strung it up with some 10s. Now these are electric guitar strings, they're Elixir, and that was more just to get a nice slinky feel out of the instrument. They're what I use in some of my electric guitars, but to get a better sound acoustically, I think in future I might swap these out, but at this stage it was all about getting a punch out of the pickups and something that plays quite nice. The instrument finished in time for a little gig I had coming up, so I decided I would take it with me and give it a go. I was though concerned a little bit with feedback maybe being an issue on the night, so I went ahead and made some sound hole covers just to address that if it did arise, but thankfully it didn't, so I didn't actually need them. But you can see them here in the instrument, and they turned out quite well. Now these were just test ones, and I probably will get a better mould in the future, but they're useful to have just on hand if it ever does become an issue.
So guys, that's where I'm going to leave this project for now. I hope you have enjoyed it. It was just a bit of a notion I took to try and put mag pickups in one of my guitars, and I'm really thrilled with how it came out. I thought this guitar was going to be a piece of wall art, but I honestly haven't left it down since. I just love the feel of it, I love the sound of it. The pickups have got a really good punch to them, but then they've also got good body and depth to them when you dial the tone back. So no, definitely something I'm really excited about. It's never going to be a great sounding acoustic guitar because of the strings and the holes and because of the slightly thicker top I've on it, just to support the pickups, but it's something you can sit and practice on for hours. It's so weird having an acoustic guitar that you can really dig into and bend the strings and get really good sound out of acoustically, and then plug it in and just go to town. So I'm really thrilled with it. I hope you guys like it. I've got a few more guitars sitting about in similar states that I might do another project with, so if you guys would like to see anything at all, let me know. I have a few parts sitting about. I had the pickups for this in a drawer somewhere, and bits and pieces, so I potentially might do another one and try different things. But yeah, that's it for now. So I think going forward I might add an undersaddle pickup to it, just an acoustic pickup, and then I might swap one of the tone pots for a blend pot. And then you can blend in you can go fully mag, or you can go fully undersaddle, or you can go any combination of the two, which I think could be quite fun and open up even more sonic possibilities. But yeah, that's it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any ideas or anything you'd like to see or any comments, let me know. And yeah, I'm hoping now in the next couple of weeks to have my paint booth finally in and working. Everything's just been pushed back at the minute, but I'm hoping now the end is in sight. And as soon as I get a paint booth and can start refinishing guitars, I'm going to start making a whole batch of new guitars. So that's where I'm at. And stay tuned for updates. Talk to you soon. Thanks guys.